Right then, welcome to K Village. My name's Mike Harding, just in case you thought that I was the warm-up. There is no Madame Griselda's trombone dwarfs or Enrico and his whistling ferrets. It is me at the moment. I'm going to do about 35 minutes readings from my new book, which is called Yorkshire Transvestite Found Dead on Everest. A true story, as you might imagine. And then I'm going to be doing book signings at the back for anybody who wants to buy signed first editions as Christmas presents, birthday presents, bar mitzvah presents, or just to contribute to the Mike Harding Lotus Elan Fund, whichever. The book is a compilation of 60 articles, I think possibly my best articles, I'm not sure, that's a matter of judgment, from a magazine called The Great Outdoors, which a lot of you will know, the premier, I think, anyway, trekking and adventure walking magazine that's being published at the moment in the UK. My editor, John Manning, and main editor, Cameron McNeish, who I always subtitle Macaroon Kaminikas, have done their best, excuse me, over the last 11 years to keep me sort of relevant and on the straight and narrow, but they've not always succeeded. So the articles, though they do tend to be about walking or mountaineering or climbing or trekking or whatever, they tend to go off on a tangent because there's a lot better mountain writers than me, and a lot of people have done far more adventurous things. And my sort of creed as a sort of outdoor writer, if you like, is summed up in an article which came out fairly recently in the magazine called Return Tram Ticket to Annapurna, Please. I've got a bit of a frog in my throat, but as my gran always said, it's better than toad in the hole. By the way, if you are cold, ask the person next to you to rub your thighs. And there's one other thing I've got to say. Please, on no account, anybody touch any of the machinery, because we have had people lose things. 2 small children are still being extricated from a saddle-making machine at the back of the workshop. Return tram ticket to Annapurna, please. My late father-in-law spent the years 1939 to 1945 doing his best to stop a small man with a toothbrush moustache from replacing our national dish of fish and chips with Schweinhaxe amid sauerkraut. My father-in-law's part in this battle against a unitesticulate failed watercolourist was played out in an old wooden-hulled trawler that had been converted into a minesweeper. He was a radio operator who spent most of the war tapping out signals on a Morse key as the skipper took them round places like the Bay of Capri, sweeping mines with what one must presume was a big but very soft brush. What has this got to do with mountains, Harding, you procrastinating wordsmith, I hear you squeal with impatience. Hold your water, all will become clear. The skipper of the minesweeper always began each tour of duty by holding up a tram ticket. It was the return ticket from the docks back to his home. As long as I've got this, lads, we're going to get back, he used to say. And he was right. They always did get back. And in a way, unlike some of the people that I've trekked and climbed with over the years, I've always had that return tram ticket. So far, at least. I've never done anything particularly brave or foolhardy, but then again, you don't have to be bivvied out on a vertical wall of bad rock and ice in a massive storm to buy the farm. On one trip to the Khumbu Glacier many years back, 36 trekkers and locals died in one of the worst post-monsoon storms ever to hit that valley. We wandered through the mess and the tragedy a few hours later, safe and sound, except for a bad case of Gandhi's revenge, which I'd contacted in Kathmandu. Another time in Pakistan, a few days after we made it back to Skardu, following hours of hell and high boredom on the Karakoram highway, a jeep carrying 6 trekkers was swept off the road by an avalanche and ended up driver and passengers and all being ground into sludge by the thundering waters of the river in the gorge far below. I could go on, and I sometimes do, about the near misses or lucky escapes that I've had, but I won't. Because lucky escapes you can do nothing about. If your name is on the boulder or the jeep, then it's kismet and kiss your bottom goodbye. I've just found out, by the way, that when he was dying, Lord Nelson didn't say kiss me Hardy, but kismet Hardy, i.e. it's fate. My name was on that sharpshooter's bullet. Just shows you, for years I had him down as a friend of Dorothy's. What I want to say is that it isn't the big stuff like kismet that you can do nothing about that irks me, but the small stuff you find in the great outdoors that makes life a dreary, miserable, and at sometimes almost death-dealing affair. Midges, mosquitoes, leeches, bad food, piles, splinters, blisters, itchy bits, shop pubs and moaning members. I think one of my most miserable experiences was in the Cumbu Valley on the walk-in from Jiri. We were heading for Mira Peak, 5 of us, assorted climbers and cavers. The weather was terrible. It was late October and the monsoon, which should have been finished weeks ago, was still in full flow. And monsoon in Nepal doesn't just mean wet, it means leeches. Now I know that symbiosis is a part of nature and that things that batten onto other creatures and make their lives a misery, such as lamprey, midges, politicians, lawyers, architects, planners, etc., are just part of the blind watchmaker's grand design. But that doesn't mean I have to like it. And leeches, bloody leeches, bloody pigging, sodding leeches are one of the blind watchmaker's worst ideas. In the jungles of Nepal, they hide under the leaves of the trees along the trail, waiting for humans or animals to pass. They've got some kind of receptor that senses blood warmth, and they can swing themselves off the leaves and onto your flesh in a wink, and they get everywhere. Not just on exposed flesh, but up the legs of your pants, down your socks, in your underwear, up your sleeves, down the neck of your shirt. Every hour or so we have a leech stop and pull the little buggers off. Don't believe that rubbish about them leaving their heads inside you. They don't. There was one night when I got in my tent after dinner. The rain was lashing down, the ground sodden, the tent sodden, everything sodden. And I began for a bit of light entertainment to remove my leeches. I lost count at 20. I gathered them all in my tin mug and threw them out the flap of the tent. Then snuggling down in the sleeping bag, I turned off my head torch and got ready for a good night's leech-free kip. Then I heard the mouse. It was scrabbling around somewhere inside the tent. Bugger, bugger, bugger. I switched on my head torch. The muesli bar I'd left on my kit bag was half gone, but of the mouse there was no sign. I switched off my head torch again and lay back down. Scrabble, 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 went its little claws on the ground sheet. Sod it. I was tired, I was fed up, I wanted to go to sleep. Bugger the mouse. I tried to sleep lying on my back, willing myself into unconsciousness. Just as I was slipping deep into a dark pool of dreams, the mouse ran across my face. My screams woke the camp up, and the next camp and several villages downstream. I switched my head torch on, and there it was, splayed against the tent flap, terrified, the size of my thumb. I picked it up by the tail and threw it out, hoping that the leeches would get it. Bad stuff, horrible stuff at the time, but at least I didn't die. There's no cairn with a wooden plaque on it saying M. Harding, 1944 to 1983, killed by a mouse. And why? Because I had the return ticket. In fact, I've still got it somewhere. Where did I put it?